Hey, it's Zero to Pass, Nubatama Third Eye Facebook page, coming at you with more discussion. Nubatama Premium, Jamyocongo, status post DBT02. I played my locals yesterday, sneak locals, and managed to pick up pieces that I want to consider for this deck, and we're going to talk about it a bit. And I've been thinking about how I can include those pieces versus not include those pieces. So I want to spend more time today talking about why I made certain choices. And I know I talk about things like that in my other videos, but I want to talk about it in more detail. I thought about just writing this up as a blog, but honestly, I'm better thinking on the fly. It's kind of more my style, which is why I've been doing it this way. However, I've been thinking about a few things, maybe doing a write-up on histories is kind of a thing right now. History of Nubatama. I could go for days on that. I've considered it. I might do that. We'll see. I know some people probably like reading articles better than watching videos. So at some point I may convert this into something to read up there as well on Axis. So check out Axis Vanguard, a really great group of players, very passionate about the game, and really good content. Yeah, I kind of joke with them that my videos are so low budget, it makes everything else look good, but I'm just teasing, just being a little tongue-in-cheek with myself in terms of just joking around. So, but yeah, check out Axis Vanguard online. Really great to work with them. And the honor, it's awesome. Jaime, I thank you for inviting me. So you know who you are. And without further ado, yeah, let's get into it. So the big thing with my deck is, well, with any Jamyocongo deck, of course, the hand size is what you're limiting. And so there are two ways to really attack the rest of the hand. One is to generate big columns, multi-attacks. The other is to just take those pieces away. And the way I have the deck built right now, as you all know, is to take those pieces away. So let's take out the pieces that help do that. So these two, and then this fuels off of the, or gets fuel from them. So Bakurin says if your opponent doesn't have a card in their bind zone, when you place Bakurin's GB1, your opponent takes a card from their hand, they get to choose, and bind it if they don't have a card in their bind zone. So you can't play a Bakurin and then a Bakurin behind it. So you have to have a way around this, and we'll get to that in the third card here in this group. So typically you're going to use this card first in the group of cards we have here because of it's limited in that regard. But this is really free. It's just GB1 on place. Your opponent puts a card in their bind zone. Now that card's going to go back to their hand at the end of turn if they survived. Fuki is a little different. So Fuki, as an act, counterblast one, pitch him into soul, and your opponent now has to select a card randomly. So typically they'll just put the cards face down, use some kind of dice, and then select it that way. And this card requires your opponent to have 3 or more. So Jamyocongo, the beginning of, at the end of your opponent's turn, they go down to 4, right? So during your main phase, you can take them down to 3 with Bakurin, and then take them down to 2 with Fuki. And then what you can do is use Kamijigusa to allow your opponent to select one of the cards that's bound in their bind zone and countercharge. So if the counterblast is used on him, you can then countercharge it. Kamijigusa, that's its on play effect. And so the other effect it has is when your opponent pops a card back to their hand from their bind zone, this card has what's called after image. And so when they pop that card back to their hand, remember this card's going to come back to your hand. So if you want to use it for shield, you want to use it again, yeah, it's pretty good. So what this card is doing is it's doing something that I'm not sure any other clan really does that well. It's using your opponent's bind zone as a resource. There might be another card from another clan that does that to some degree, but this is the one I know, a Nubatama premium player. And so yeah, it's pretty cool. It's GB1 as well, GB1 limited, just like Bakurin. You're gonna be on stride at that point. Yeah, use your opponent's cards as resources. It's pretty decent. And so if you're at 1 damage, your opponent's trying to damage deny you, they got you at 1, you're gonna need to use that a few times during your turn. Fuki, you can use it the 1 time. Kumijigusa, you get it back. And the reason I bring that up is he has an amazing card that came out of collection, Yamashibuki. So Yamashibuki is a counterblast. So you're definitely gonna want to try to have this in your hand, meaning maybe you don't want to pitch this to something. This is actually going to be very useful in terms of being able to use counterblast effects, multiple counterblasts. You know, 1 counterblast here, 1 counterblast here, and that's about kind of where it ends, unless you go on a toggle lord, and we'll get to the strides here in a bit. But this allows you to use your opponent's cards as a resource. It allows you to force your opponent to lose a card in case they survive your turn. So they're going to have less cards in hand that way. The other thing that these 2 cards have is this is a 7K grade 1, this is an 8K grade 2. So depending on what your opponent's on, what they wrote on, you might be able to damage deny. And when I think about building a deck, that's something that's an added benefit, right? If you want to be playing in a competitive environment, and honestly, I mean, despite the fact that I like to play Nubatama, I actually am fairly competitive in my play and how I try to build decks. Do I have a problem playing with clans that aren't tops and trying to make them work? Yeah, I would say probably, and I don't mind that. But the thing is, you want to have a way to try to damage control, really, while you're still able to drive check. So if you're on a 7, you put something in the back. Maybe you put Kumijigusa because you can bounce it at some point, or maybe a trigger or such. Or there's a number of things you might be able to. I guess it's going to be trigger to Kumijigusa or another grade 1 when you're on this. And Katara Gitsuni. That's another option too. Him. You swing with this, and then you put all effects in the back row, or wherever you put that card, or whichever card you're using. So damage control, and then here, I mean, this is an 8. Yeah, this is even better than a 9. So a lot of clans are gonna have 10s coming out of even D era, right? You're gonna have 10s, and so but you're gonna have 9s, from V and before. So 8 is pretty good. For being a card that allows you to still attack, get your drive check, because you're going to want your drive checks, right? You want to keep building your hand. If you happen to hit a draw effect, great, you're going to get those 2 cards in hand. So these 2 cards do help with attrition of your opponent's hand with regards to their abilities. However, they also help with regards to tempo of how much damage you're giving your opponent. So really important, right? And then, so this is the engine I have in here right now for limiting my opponent's hand, as well as getting my resources back by using my opponent's cards as resources, which is kind of cool. And then being able to pop this back to hand if I need to, or if I didn't manage to finish my opponent off that turn. So yeah, so we'll get to the token generators in a bit here. So this is that central engine, right? And so right now what I've been thinking about is Hagakure. So Hagakure, this is a really awesome card. What it's going to allow you to do, say Jamyocongo strode onto Jakamesa, so it's a 27k attacker. You drop Hagakure, you can copy that 27k, which is really cool. And then you can swing with this, and then when you swing with Jakamesa, you can actually use this card as a cost, right? It's a 0. If you don't have any tokens, or you have just 1 token in play, you could actually send this to the discard, and you're gonna have a way to get it back here, which we're gonna talk about. So this is one of the cards I'm thinking about. Rather than pressuring your opponent's hand by just stripping the cards away, this is pressuring your opponent's hand by guarding, by forcing them to guard. So it's pretty good. And you'd be able to do this twice. You're going to be able to swing with 27. You're going to be able to put it back. swing with 27 again. Your columns are actually going to be quite larger than that, actually. So one of the things I've been thinking about is, straight across, Kamijigusa for Hagakure. Now the other card that goes really well with this, and this is where DBT02 comes in, is Blaze Maiden Tanya. So the way Blaze Maiden Tanya works is, when this unit is placed on rearguard, counterblast 1, choose a grade 0 from your drop zone and call it to rearguard circle. And then when it attacks, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your grade 0s, and it gets +5. So on a Jockey Mesa play, you attack with Jockey Mesa. Jockey Mesa is our main stride here. When you attack with him, you're going to pop everything back to hand. You can use Hagakure as a cost for popping everything back to hand. And then you're going to call 2 cards from your hand after drawing 2 cards. And one of the cards you can call is her. Now, you're going to call her. She's going to go on standby in a bit. You could call another one of her if you had 2 of these in play and you pop 2 of them to pay for Jockey Mesa. You have 2 of these in hand. You call these. You're going to be able to proc both of them, making, when they attack, a 42k column. Because it's going to be 10 plus 27 plus another 5, right? So 42k columns. So that's pretty good. And if you had these in your hand previously, you didn't just draw into them, but you had them, you could have been swinging with 42. It's going to cost 4 soul if you have it, but 42, pop everything back to hand. Jockey Mesa lets you draw 2, then put all these back down. You're going to be able to attack 42 again after Jockey Mesa. Now the wording of Jockey Mesa is really important. I was hoping you could get the +10 off here when you copy, but the way it works is retire 2 zeros, turn a card from your G-Zone face up, draw a card, return all of your rear guards to hand. You call 2 cards from your hand. It's going to be her. And I guess you can do it. Let's look at the wording here. Call 2 cards from your hand to rear guard circle, right? If you call 2 cards, this gets +10 and a crit till end of turn. So you are going to finish this effect, actually. And then once you're done finishing this effect, you then proc her, and this is now a 37. And so that's going to be a 52k column on either side. So that's 104 shield just to match, right? So yeah, it does work that way. So reading is hard. Yeah, call 2 cards, call 2 Tanyas. This gets +10 in a crit, and then you proc Tanya because she's on standby. Proc her, go get these. They copy this. And the other thing is, and as you know, I've got my 4 Yamasakis back in the deck. If you put this into soul on attack, +10, there's 62k columns. It's really big. And so even more of a reason for me to have these 4 back in here. Although, like, as I was telling you guys in the last video, I really want to have maximum number of, realistically, maximum number of criticals. So, yeah. So the idea here is you're either going to just take the cards from your opponent's hand, make it so that they don't get them back in case your opponent survives, or you're going to just force your opponent to guard 4 cards in their hand. Big attacks. 5 big attacks. There's an argument here that this may actually be better. So, now one of the things we got to think about is a countercharger. So I like to have counterchargers in my deck, and yeah, so there are a few options here. If we're being damage denied, we've got 1 counterblast. We know we're going to want to use it maybe for this, right? Well, or maybe we're going to want to, yeah, I mean, for this, right? There's that. Maybe at this point we want to start thinking about, do we actually want to run this? Perhaps we just run more of this. And then we are now going to be using not our tokens anymore as a cost target, but actually using the units that we're attacking with. The way I have the deck right now, I just make tokens, and I don't give them boosts or anything because Zangetsu's not in here, right? And it works really well. I've been very happy with this suite of cards. However, I did want to talk about this because DBT02 is here. One of the viewers, I appreciate, you were talking about this as an option, maybe also for Kamijusa. I'm not so sure it's going to work really that well with Kamijusa. If you're going to run this card, I would steer towards Hagakure. Amazing card. I liked this card in V early on. I really liked it when we first got the Nubatama stuff. So this is something we may want to think about in terms of numbers. Are we going to stick with this? I really like this card. I think having this in here is going to give us two really good options for paying for Jaquemesa. Either by sacking Hagakure's or by using this. But getting back to counterchargers. So the two counterchargers I thought about, the first one, Sakura Fubuki, I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards Sakura Fubuki because on placement Sakura Fubuki, if you have 3 or more units, including your Vanguard, discard a card from hand, it gets +3 until end of turn, and if there are 1 or less face-up cards in your damage zone, you draw a card and you countercharge. So you can still have 1 face-up, and you're going to be able to countercharge and still have those 2 if you need it. I do like this card. There's a problem here that I talked about, and that was being able to damage deny, control the tempo of your opponent's damage. And so this is an 8K, right? This is a 10K. Remember what I was saying about 10K numbers? Yeah, here we are, the 10K. If I have this and I'm swinging into that, I can put my triggers elsewhere, right? If this is swinging into this or swinging into another 10, I can't really damage deny my opponent. So she's already causing a problem in that regard, but potentially well worth it. Now, there's another countercharger, and that's Kokujo. And so, or not, yeah, this is Kokujo. So Kokujo, it's a 7K. So right there, we're matching one of the functionalities of Fuki. Okay, that's 7. And so when placed on rear guard or G guard in circles, if your damage has no face-up cards, countercharge 1. So it's pretty good, right? I do like this card. If you got just the 1 damage, you use it for something, maybe you use it for her. Maybe you use Hagakure to guard. If you guard with your over trigger, if you Hagakure and you guard with this, that's a 100K guard. That's pretty good. So yeah, and the really cool thing about her too is you could actually call this back to the field, and then during your main phase when you play this, you can then call this before you use Jaquemesa. When you Jaquemesa, this goes back to your hand, so you're going to be able to keep guarding. You're going to have 50K guard online. So when you start looking at what the benefits are of her, they're actually pretty good. You're going to have the guard. You're going to have the guard with this too, and you're going to be able to copy that. And not only that, you can copy 20s. You can't bat an eye at that. Okay. So as I was saying in one of my other videos there, Hagakure is both very good offensively and defensively, and I'm just showing you why this card could really shine in this deck. Just talking me through it, talking us through it, and looking at the timing of when things get bigger and things like that, and what we need to do to make this deck flow just as well as what I've been playing, and that's actually been really good. Pretty good, yeah. The only game it's lost so far was against Fenrir Loop, and kind of suspected that. I need to play that against that a little more. My buddy doesn't like playing Fenrir Loop, but I'm gonna have to somehow, bribe him or something to enjoy the deck. So, because I don't like people playing decks that they don't enjoy. But getting back to resources, so this could replace that. Sakura Fubuki is definitely a fan favorite option, I would say. And so, at least for our grade 1 turn, we could still have the benefit of a 7k grade 1 in here so that you can damage deny. And I really think this is important. Again, if you want to just be casual and not competitive, Sakura Fubuki is probably the better option. However, we do want the deck to be as competitive as it can be, despite the fact that it's just a dark horse with regards to, you know, tier 1 meta. This is a dark horse, and you know, are people going to expect this? Are there that many people actually watching this video right now? I don't know. I don't know how many tryhard Nubatama players there are. Actually, I do know. There's a little over 900 of you, and I appreciate y'all. You're on the Nubatama Facebook page. So yeah, look us up on Facebook. If you have questions, this is a shameless plug actually. If you have questions about Nubatama, that's probably where you should be. Yeah, I just started the page out of a passion for a clan that, you know, I thought wasn't really well represented, and I really enjoy the clan, to be honest, and it's became what it is today. It's a lot of fun. One of the other cards that I've seen another YouTuber out there running, I watched your video. You're doing a similar thing that I'm doing, and I really like it. They tech this in at 1. This is a really good option. So Fuki is going to take a card from hand randomly and put it in the bind zone. So Fuki's better in that regard. This guy, your opponent's going to have to call a card to the field, and it's permanently gone. So this card can end up going back to your opponent's hand unless you get rid of it with Kamijikusa. This is just a one-trick pony. It's going to just get rid of the card. Now the problem with Gyumato is the wording on his card for his other effect. When it attacks, if your Vanguard's a grade 3, this unit gets plus 5k. It doesn't say if your Vanguard is 3 or higher, grade 3 or higher. Yeah, and I pointed this out in another video, but this is definitely an option that you can consider, especially if you start taking out other counterblast effects, because currently right now, these are the only 2 counterblasters I have in the main deck, Fuki and Yamashibuki. And if Fuki comes out and I put her in, it's still just 2 counterblasters. So there is that. I do want to talk about that. One of the other newer players I talk to quite a bit gets really excited about things. He's like, well, why aren't you running Dreadmaster? The reason I'm not running Dreadmaster is I tend to have more cards than my opponent. It is very good. However, I think going this route is quite honestly just a lot stronger. So there is that. Yeah. So this is kind of a what do you think kind of a, you know, slot here. If we're being damage denied, we could run Bobo, and so Bobo is definitely an option here. You run Bobo, you're going to be able to damage yourself. You're going to be able to soul charge as well, which is going to help her in terms of being able to proc that second ability to make your grade 0 boosters have plus 5. So Bobo is absolutely not a bad idea at all for this. We're now getting into the territory of where how are we going to have grade 0s? What are we going to do? At this point in time, we may want to drop Buckler to go back up to the 3rd copy of this, and in the process put this back in. Now, I wouldn't take out the Stride Fodder just because this is your only target and Tribash really wants to go to Soul. So I wouldn't, this is thinking about that synergy just even with this card, with her, getting this back with Jaku Mesa, ooh, that's pretty good. And not only that, PGs, you get PGs back, right? I mean, let's go. You know how many PGs you get. So this card right here, okay, let's think about this. You can get this back, you can get a PG back, you can get a Stride Fodder back. Yeah, so I'd probably go down on one. I'd probably go back down on one of these and put those 2 in so that I've got those. Let's think about this. Let's do the math here. This is just big number, which you can copy with Hagakure. It's pretty good. But PGs and Stride Fodders and Hagakures, this is really good. Okay, this is a really, really good option. I'm really excited about this. talking to you all and myself through this. No, I do not do these, practice before talking. I hope that's kind of obvious, because sometimes I stumble over some things and I'm like, wait a minute, look at the timing. Remember the timing with Jaquemesa? This comes into play, then this finishes, gets +10, and then she procs and gets that, and then copies this with the +10. Yeah, things like that. So this is improv. So yeah, you need a stride, go get it. You need some, Now the thing is, let's hold that thought for a second. How are you going to get that card back to hand? So once you Jaquemesa, now if you use this in your main phase, you go with the PG, right? You go with the PG. Use this during your main phase. You're going to put the PG here. You swing with this, you're going to put her and the PG back to hand. That's how you get a PG back, or a Strife Outer back, or even your over trigger back. Now, if you then call her after you've bounced the field and you've got a PG that you're putting behind her because you're pretty certain you might need it, you shouldn't, honestly. You should just be closing out the game with Hagakure. But let's say there's only one Hagakure lying around, you've got 2 of these, and you need another grade 0 you want to go get the PG. Or maybe you just have the PG. You can use this card if you want to put this down and this down. Put these 2 cards down. You swing with this column with a PG behind it. You then swing with him, counterblast 1, bounce the PG to hand, make 2 tokens for next turn. Great reason to keep this card in the deck. Now, you could use Gale. Gale's going to allow you to draw. Gale's going to Soul Blast and then Soul Charge itself back in. So you could do that if you're playing against decks like Messiah, which I now am. Feeling the pain of playing against Link Joker, which I've been doing to people for years. It's probably karma. Gale's gonna empty that column, at least that front circle for you. So, but this could definitely help get cards back. This is gonna be a countercharger that I would consider. And again, if you're not too worried about damage, tempoing out your opponent's damage, then this may be the way to go. Like we talked about Bobo. We do have another grade 2 slot in here, as you know, that I've been messing around with. The fact that this negates over triggers is just, it's really hard for me to get away from this card because it negates over triggers. It's really good. So for those who don't know, if this is the first time you're watching one of my weekly Jamyocongo videos now, which is kind of happening, this card, when you place it, you reset your opponent's Vanguard to 11k. So if you attack with this and they check and this becomes an 11 as well. So you attack, you swing into this, 11-11. They take it, they check an over trigger. It's like, yay. You're going to then Jaquemesa, pop this back to hand. You're going to replace this after this is done, finishing its effect. From popping cards to hand, playing cards and drawing cards and all that, getting its 10k and a crit. You're then going to call this back out and reset your opponent's Vanguard to 11, as well as this. And then after you're done with this attack, you can swing with this again. But what it's going to do is it's going to get rid of that 100 million. So I can't remove this from the deck. It's too powerful. Qatar Gitsuni, again, it's the Chrono Jet effect. Only got 1 grade 3 in the deck, just like Viera Chrono, or V era gears in general. Vanguard Jet, you got to run those. So, yeah. So DBT02, right there, we got the support. That's her, and I appreciate those out there who. I think I pulled 1, and then the other 3 I had to just get from the others. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys at Locals. It's always fun to see you guys, and I'm glad we got to play. The other card is the front. Talked about this a little bit already. Yeah, if my opponent's at a grade 3, it's a 20k shield, and I want my crits. And at that point, if I've got Hagakure in here and I'm copying things like, where are you? If I'm copying the Overtrigger for 50, this really doesn't do anything. And I can copy heals too. So this is a bit lackluster in the deck. However, in other clans, nations, these are going to be pretty cool. So, yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, so DBT02 edition. What you end up doing is you end up taking out the bind for more aggressive attacks, and so your opponent's gonna have 4 cards in hand. They can PG twice. If they're playing with this kind of PG, it may help them a little bit more. You're definitely swinging into them with the 4 in hand, but they have to guard 5 fairly large attacks with Hagakure. Now, if you only have 1 Hagakure, it gets a little awkward in the sense that the attacks aren't going to be all that big, but 3 of them are going to be good attacks, because 2 of them are going to have Hagakure involved. You got your main Vanguard, and then you've got, which is going to be 37 with a crit. If you boost it, it's going to be bigger. Hagakure is going to copy whatever's going on there, and when it comes back into play, and yeah. So the grade 1 slot here, I mean, if you guys can think of any other things to play there, we do have our grade 2 that countercharges as well. If you call it a grade 0, I think it just says a grade 0, right? If you just call it a grade 0, Hagakure, it goes into soul countercharges. It's not bad. It's something that you can consider here. And then what would you keep here? Maybe Fuki. You know, you could have a hybrid here. And that's really what I want, is a hybrid. I'd like to have a bit of bind from hand with this. So, yeah. The problem is, again, when Jaquemesa swings back and you call back your units and you use her to get something like a PG, you're going to want to have this on the board after you attack with that column to then pop that PG back to hand, giving you more leverage against whatever's coming your way next turn if needed. So I hope that helps talking through that. It's a little bit of gymnastics that you have to do. This is pretty, it's combolacious. This with Hagakure, yeah, it's combo. It's also combo with this. However, it's pretty exciting. I mean, this is a really, really, really interesting and potentially very powerful option. So there are other things we could do. I didn't want to bring this up. I talked about this in another video, where if you're needing tokens for the Fuki slot, you could definitely put this in, and then for this slot, you'd want to put in the gosh, I forget his name. Is it double R? Goes into soul. If you call it grade 0, it's going to go into soul, effectively soul charging itself in and counter charging 1. It's pretty good, and that's going to get rid of some counterblast. So that's the other thing we want in the deck. So we want to be thinking about how can we win without having counterblasts. It's really something you want to do to think about. So if you're going to be running this, Bobo. I mean, I already have problems with Fuki requiring counterblast, right? And with this requiring counterblast. So you want to consider possibly Bobo. However, again, you're not going to be able to bounce that card to hand. Although it may not matter. It's pretty techy. Is it win more? Possibly. But it's definitely a utility. And I like the fact that there's that synergy with these kind of cards. So anything else here I got to talk about? Not really. Continues to be best Nubatama Premium Grade 3. I really wish it was Shiranui, but I would say it's Jamyocongo. So hope you guys enjoy the video. and the further discussion. I appreciate those out there who are watching. I appreciate your input as well. And until next time, have a great week, y'all. Get in some safe Vanguard. Peace.